Welcome to the Business Behind the Scene podcast with Francesca Moi, where we talk all about real business problems, real solutions, and getting actual results in your business. Welcome to an amazing episode, a bonus episode for you guys. I've been interviewed by Melissa Fernandez a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I wanted to share it with you guys. It's such an amazing interview. I just love being interviewed. I finally discovered parts of myself that I didn't even know. I'm like, oh my goodness, this was so amazing because she was asking real questions and questions that I've never shared with anybody before. So I think you guys are going to be loving this. So if you love it, if you enjoy it, share it with your friends, share with everybody, and leave me a review. I would love to hear from you. And again, like, we are nearly at 20,000 followers now, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like 20,000 listens of this podcast. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, remember that day that I used to do this podcast and nobody will listen? Now we have reached nearly 20,000, which is amazing. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for spending the time to listen to this podcast. And I would love to hear feedback. And what else you want to know? What else you want to listen, right? I would love to do that. All right. I'll chat with you soon. Enjoy.
All right. So I love to clap my hands beforehand like this to generate some energy. All right. Rediscover you. Hello. Welcome back, my amazing lovers, to another episode of the Rediscover You podcast. And on today's episode, I have an amazing guest speaker for you. I'm super excited for this one because I'm still learning so much about Francesca Moi. So I want to tell you a bit about this beautiful soul. So Francesca Moi, also known as the Meetup Queen, is a successful business owner. She's a speaker, coach, and she focuses on helping businesses and startups. Francesca is the CEO of Empowering Events. I can't wait to hear more about that. A company that she founded in 2013, where she runs successful events and also teaches businesses and personalities how to become famous, by leveraging and following and filling events. How cool is that? She's also an author of 3 books. I know you just recently launched a new one. How exciting. And people describe her as energetic, inspiring, and humorous, which I can't wait to hear more of your humor. So a little bit more about Francesca Moi and why I'm inviting her on as a guest speaker is that Francesca Moi has shown up on my social media. Her ads were popping up and I'm like, who is this queen? I literally stalked her, checked her out. I'm like, wow, I love what she's doing. I love who she is. I can just see her in her lives because she's consistent. She's always showing up on social media. She's so great on her lives. And I'm like, I really just feel she really belongs on this podcast because she is showing up as who she is and sharing her special world to the gift. So sharing her special gift to the world. So let's bring on the amazing Francesca Moi. Hello.
Oh my goodness, Melissa, what an introduction. Thank you so much. I'm like, oh, stop it. You make me feel like so famous.
You are, literally. I'm all over my Facebook, all over social media. Exactly what you help people with is exactly what you are doing, which I love.
Thank you, Melissa. It's been a journey of discovering me on social media, and then, I'll tell you the whole story, but it was not easy to do the whole journey. When I started, I was scared. And then when I got actually with the following, it was even scarier to put myself out there because now people knew me. Like, I broke up with my ex. It was like a public relationship. Everybody knew about us. And we broke up and I went to salsa dancing to try to find myself again. And I was like a bit sad. And one person was talking about my ex. And I was like, oh, I just need to go home. And I was so sad, right? I get on an Uber going like, okay, let me go home and I need to retrieve and be by myself. And the Uber driver was like, oh, Francesca Moi, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys broke up. You broke my heart. And she's like, start to talk about it. I'm like, don't. I don't want to speak about it.
That's the worst as well.
I know. I was heartbroken. And I'm like holding on my tears going, can we just talk about something else, please? It was so bad.
Just get me home.
Yeah, it was a journey, Melissa, I have to say. And I think that after that, I actually hid for a little while, and then I'm like, you know what? I need to walk my talk. I need to stop hiding and come back out there. So here I am again.
Yay. Well, let's dig more into, we'll talk a lot more about social media. I think that's actually a great topic, especially with stripping off your mask and showing up as authentically who you are. But before we jump into that, let our listeners get to know you better. I want to know more about you. So I love to do a bit of a hot seat. So get ready. The first thing that comes to your mind, don't think hard about it, just say the answer. Okay. Are
Okay,
you a cat or dog person?
dog,
Netflix or books?
Netflix,
Pizza or pasta?
either, none of them.
None of them. Pizza or
No,
burgers?
I'm Italian and I can't eat pizza or pasta because I'm good. But anyway, pasta now, if I had to choose.
Pasta. Amazing. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Sunset. Beautiful. So you just mentioned that you're Italian. Tell us, like, where did you grow up?
Okay, so I was born in a beautiful island called Sardinia in Italy. And
Wow.
I know, when I was 1.5, we moved away from Sardinia. We moved to the continent. They call it the continent. So the actual part of Italy, right? Sardinia is like a bit further away. And yeah, so I grew up in these different towns. Every couple of years, my dad would have to move for his job. So we kept moving as a family, and I think that I got that resilience from that. Like I had to start school again. I didn't know anybody, so I grew up in different places, and until I was about 8, and then 8 years old, we moved in one little town near Bologna, and I grew up there until I was 18, and then I left and I went to live in London. So
Wow.
yeah, so I lived a little everywhere, and then when I was from 18 to 26, that I came to Australia, I kept traveling. I lived in Spain, I lived in Greece, I'm back to Italy, and then back to Dublin, and then Spain again, and I kept moving around. Some people used to say you're running away from something, and I used to say I'm just looking to find myself, until I realized that finding myself was about looking inside, not keep traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us who have traveled and traveled and traveled realize that. Yeah, you go, I'm just looking for myself, just trying to find who I
It's
am.
right
Exactly right, right there. So I always love these stories because you're not Australian. What made you move to Australia?
Well, I was living in Spain and I was working for Luna Rossa, which is like the American Cup. So I was working for that, and my friend, one of my best friend that I met there, was from Sydney. Is from. No, actually, she doesn't live in Sydney anymore. But anyway, and she said, "You need to come to Australia. You will love it." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's so far away." I'm like, "Okay, I'll come." So I put my job, I paused it for 3 months. I said, "I'll be back in 3 months," and I just came with a backpack. And when I moved here, then I started to travel I went from Sydney to then Cairns and started with the Greyhound bus traveling down. And at the early beach, I went on the Whitsunday tour, and the skipper was a really hot uh, gentleman, Australian man, guy at the time. And we fell in love, and I kept going, I kept traveling south, but then eventually I went back up, and we lived together from the moment we met, and we never left each other for like 5 full years.
Wow. So a man was
Oh
the
man.
inspiration to stay.
Yes. And then when we broke up, I left, and I was like, no, 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 I'm not gonna stay here by myself. I'll go back to Italy. And when I went back to Italy, I'm like, oh no, 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 no. I don't belong to Italy anymore. I need to come back here. So here I am.
Isn't it amazing how life works out and how everyone and everything is placed there for a reason?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well done. We're glad we have you here in Australia. Where are you based now?
Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Bris
Love
Vegas.
Bris
Yeah.
Vegas is awesome. So
Yeah.
one of my favorite questions that helps me get to know people better is who inspires you?
Oh dear, Tony Robbins has been a
Mm,
major part of my growth and truly inspires me. But to be honest, like I get inspired by really amazing stories. Like I go to networking events and I talk to amazing women that have got kids and they're running a business and they're looking after their house. And I just feel that there is so many amazing humans out there, like all around us, that we don't even realize that. My mom being one of them. She's bloody 69 nearly. She's still traveling the world. She just came back here. She's now here in Brisbane. She was in Miami until a month ago, and she was back in Italy. And I'm like, wow, like, I think people are inspiring in general, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Go, mom.
I know. I'm like, I want to be like her when I'm 70. Stop it.
Yeah, something to always look up to. That's amazing. And what do you feel? I know you give so much in this world, and it's amazing to see what you are doing. What do you feel that your special gift is that you are giving to this world?
I think that my gift has also changed a little bit in the last 10 years that I've been in business. At first, it was for people to allow themselves to be seen. Going from invisible to invincible was my message, is still my message. But it was something that I had to firstly and foremost learn for myself. And that's why I was bringing it out to the world. And I've always felt invisible when I grew up, when I was out there. I always felt like nobody wanted me, nobody loved me, nobody was right. That was my biggest thing to learn in this lifetime. And so that's, I think, that's the first thing that I had to embrace and then learn and bring to my audience. And I think that now is to really step up into the CEO that we can be. So we first create like a business that is like a hobby. It's not really a business. We are a hobby owner, not a business owner, right? And then when it's time to become a CEO, a lot of people can't shift, can let go of that identity of doing everything in last minute and react to the business and all of that. And it's a different relationship that you need to have with yourself to be able to become a CEO. And it's not easy, but not change is easy, right? And I think that that's what I'm very passionate about. It's about letting go and be able to let people in your life so that they can help us and support us so that we can impact even more people.
Yes, that is beautiful. The power of letting go. What did you, and I love that you've changed over 10 years and it's evolved and it's, it's these multiple gifts too. It's like the purpose, right? It shifts. What do you feel is it? Because obviously it's something you were teaching. What was it that you feel that made that shift in yourself where were invisible and now you started to be seen? What did you do to help you discover that?
So the invisible to invincible journey is started on Facebook. So this is something that I don't share that often, but in 2013 when I started my first, 2014 when I started my first business, it was a life coaching business, right? And in 9 months, I made $120. I'm not saying I made profit 100. Actually, the revenue of the company was $120. One person paid me $120 for 1 hour session, and then I felt guilty and I gave it the money back. So that is my first 9 months of business. And then I decided that, okay, I've invested in all these courses and I've done nothing because of the fears, right? The thing that I didn't deserve it. And I remember, I tell my clients a lot, I don't really know how else to explain it, but I remember that I was here and the money, the business, the success, the clients were in another atmosphere. Like it was far away from me and I just could not understand how do I get there. Like it was always further away until I really shifted my identity one more time and accept that could have been me. That's when I then created empowering events and I started to run events and I started to bring people together and I started to see that I had something that people wanted, and I would have never guessed that in the first 9 months. And I started to listen to what people wanted and I started to create what they wanted.
Wow, thank you for sharing that as well. If you don't share it often, that's amazing. But what would you feel was that shift? Like, how did you shift that identity? What work did you do to be able to make that shift?
Well, to be honest, the biggest shift happened at a UPW event with Tony Robbins. I still remember, I actually have a recording in my phone of one of the I am the leader, like that little meditation that Tony does. Step up, step up. I still remember it, and
Yes.
I have it as a recording, and I can listen. I literally hear that 2015 Francesca yelling and screaming, and I remember in that moment, like literally, I decided that I was not gonna have a hobby anymore. I decided that I was going to do something. Like it was a decision at that workshop. And then it was a decision every day after that, because in one workshop can't change our life, but we can make a decision. And then if we keep choosing the same thing, we can actually grow into it. So I feel that the biggest way for me to shift it was to surround myself with people that were doing it. And so going to Tony Robbins event really helped me. Meditating, continually choosing and growing, and having coaches. I've always had mindset coaches. I believe that our business is a 3D printout of our thoughts. So if we don't work on our thoughts, the business is never going to manifest the way we really want it. And so I've always worked on my mind, always. Like tonight at 5:40, I've got a coaching session with my coach, Mindset.
Wow, there's a lot of golden nuggets right there. One, environment. Environment is so strong. I always say environment is stronger than your willpower. It really is. Environment will always lead to our thoughts, which will then lead to our feelings, which lead to our behaviors, and that's our actions, where we get our results. Environment, constantly working on yourself, working on your mindset. And most importantly, I think what you really said there, which I want to drill into more, is about deciding. And we know the word decide, like side means to cut off in Latin. And to decide, there's a quote I heard the other day, which was, we are just one decision away from our life changing.
Yeah.
We are just one decision away from our life changing. So what made you decide that you wanted to go and help business owners really expand through social media?
And this is where I didn't decide that as such. I decided that I was going to make a difference in that workshop. I remember I decided that one day I was going to be with Tony on stage. I decided that I was going to have an audience. I'm going to make an impact. I decided that. And how, it didn't matter. And it's so funny when people tell us that, and you really want something. Like when people tell me, like now I'm single, and people are like, oh, when you less expect it, you want to have it. Don't worry about the how, it will come. And I'm like, where is it? Where is he? I can't believe it, right? So I get frustrated when people tell me that, because it's like, no, tell me what to do and I'll do it and I'll get the husband. Let's go. Right?
Oh, if only it worked that way.
I know, right?
I literally met a couple yesterday on a boat, super cute couples, super high achievers. And my favorite question is always like, how do you meet each other? They met each other off Instagram. And she was like to me, he literally sent me like a Google form of interview questions to qualify me.
Oh. Stop it.
I'm like, that's brilliant.
That is next level. Like, oh my gosh. And I thought I was very detailed.
Right.
Maybe I need to change my strategy. Let's go Google Forms.
Let's go Google Forms. Let's go Instagram. So many ways, right?
Oh, that is legit amazing.
Oh, it's so good. So when it comes towards, I know we're just touching, but now we're touching a bit on relationships as well. How do you see the relation when it comes towards business and relationships?
Look, business is everything about business is a relationship. And, this last couple of weeks, I was like, okay, I want to, because after COVID, my business slowed down a little bit, right? So it went a little bit in less, and also what I want in my life is different. So I'm 40. I want to set up a type of life that I can then have a family and not have to work as hard as I worked in the last 7 years. So I'm like, okay, do I really want to grow the business back before COVID, to where I used to every week have my luggage ready and travel, and I will be away and I will be on my own in different hotels everywhere in Australia, sometimes the world. So is that what I really want? And be exhausted and burn out and fulfilled, because it was amazing my heart was always full, but I was alone at the end of the day. So is that what I really want? Or do I want to focus on something else? So I had to make another decision. And so that decision is now, okay, I'm going to focus on something different. It's going to give me more time, freedom, rather than anything else. And so I decided to do that, which means I had to let go of this old identity of, me on stages, me going out there, me, people ask me to sign the book, right? All those things is also part of who I thought I was. And so I had to recreate my own identity in here, and it was quite challenging. But what I learned through that is, and now I forgot your question.
How is business related?
And relationship. Thank you. I just started talking. I'm like, I'm so excited. I just lost.
No, I love it. It's amazing. You've dropping so many golden nuggets.
Thank you. And so I was like, okay, what was I doing at the beginning of the first business? Well, second business, the business coaching, the academy, and all of that, to be able to grow it so fast and so successfully. Like, what was I doing then that I might need to implement it now? Because I'm back into a startup, right? My brain is like, I've got a $1.5 million business, but I don't anymore. I need to recreate that in here, right? So I'm like, okay, what did I do? And I'm like, relationships. I was talking to everybody on my Facebook. I would message people everywhere. I would go on networking events. I would take photos with people. I would post them. I would talk. All of that. I'm like, that was creating the momentum. That's what I teach my clients, by the way. And I'm like, I need to redo that again. And so relationships is literally the biggest pillar of any business, right? And so me now going back to networking events, literally in the last 10 days, I've got 8 clients signed up because of my networking event. And I'm not going networking, going, do you want to buy? But I just go out there authentically being me. And then people are like, oh, I follow you forever. I saw you started virtual assistant agency now. What's that? Tell me more. And then straight away, they want to be a client. So it's fascinating how, as business owners, we sometimes hide and think that, crazy cats in front of the computer going, like that. And it's like, no, you just need to get out there, you need to meet people, you need to talk, you need to embrace the relationships.
Yes. So when you go to a networking event, what would you recommend? Like, what do you say you're stepping into a networking event? What do you do when you step into a networking event?
So when I step into a networking event, my whole body wants to leave.
Yes.
I'm like, why am I here? I don't want to be here because I'm just shy, and it takes a lot of effort for me to do it. People don't believe that. They're like, you're not shy, like legit. But I'm not shy on stage, and I'm not shy on social media because I've done it, repetition. I've done it so many times that I know how to do it. But when it's someone else's event, I'm like, oh God, who am I going to talk to? And so what I do is that I usually go straight to the organizer. So I'm less shy to talk to the organizer than to talk to anybody else. So I go to the organizer and introduce myself, and I ask them, I congratulate them for the event, and I ask them, next time let me know and I can promote it for you. I just always give something to the organizer already. Next time, if you want a lucky door prize, I can give it to you. Like, just, offering my services or whatever I can do for them. Usually the organizer know me, that this is my little lucky point. But even if they didn't know me, if anybody's listening, doesn't matter, right? You can still go to the organizer and offer something. They also offer, when I was at the beginning of my business, I used to offer my crew to help for the next event, right? It didn't matter. Whatever you can do, just reach out to the organizer. That's the first person that you gotta find. And then from there, usually the organizer, they're very good at, they're busy. And so they're like, oh, let me introduce you to someone. And then they introduce you to someone, which is that's your getaway to start to talk to some people.
Wow, that's brilliant, because there's a few things in there because I went to a networking event yesterday, and I know just before we were getting on, we were talking about you being shy and introverted, and I call myself an outgoing introvert. And I literally, because I just got back from America 5 days ago, and it's been 7 weeks since I've been back on the Gold Coast, even recording a podcast episode. And I was Googling what are some great questions to build relationships? And those are the questions, I was putting in my head, what can I ask? And just so I could feel comfortable. But that is a golden nugget, arriving and going to the organizer to introduce yourself and offering something. Because when you offer something, it's that law of reciprocity. I can never say that word. Law of reciprocity.
That one. I don't ask me. I'm Italian.
Yes. I have no excuse. I'm actually Anglo-Indian, but my first language is English.
Doesn't matter. Everybody, I'm sure that you guys can understand what we mean, right? Reciprocity, something like that.
Yeah. But when you do that, you feel if you offer a service too, then they also go, oh, that's great. And they want to provide as well, which I think is amazing because there's that beautiful exchange. And then that key point there is that they actually introduce you to someone afterwards too.
Yeah. So they've done the job for you. You're done.
Yes. So do you have any list of questions or anything like that as well, like that you would ask people?
No, usually it is very interesting actually that you say that, because I have noticed that you just need one or two questions, and usually most people can't stop talking about themselves. People love chatting about themselves. So you just need to ask something, and then they just go on and on and on and on. And then hopefully eventually someone will ask back, but most people don't. So I just get curious. I just put my curious hat on and I just ask, first, what do you do? And who do you live with? Where are you from? Just very simple questions. I don't really like to network in and going crazy in crazy, complicated things, or trying to interview them, or it's just like, very simple. And then usually from there, it all starts, and then we find something in common, and then off we go.
Beautiful. Find that common ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. I always tend to go, yes, ask questions until you find that common ground. And then you walk away, because I can talk a lot too, but then I'm so conscious of where I'm like, oh, I need to stop and ask a question and be aware of that, because whenever I walk away from a conversation where I've been talking a lot, I'm like, oh, that was a good conversation. And then I realized that's because I was being more interesting than interested. Yeah. But I have to shift it and then and that's a skill to then.
Oh, sorry. You could go.
No, go for it.
It's just like you just got me to remind something that was like huge. I went to this like platinum partnership with Tony Robbins event, and it was all these like people that, making millions, right? And it's fascinating because they're all fighting for who's asking the question and who doesn't answer. Like, and it's like, I'm like noticing, I'm like, wait a minute, successful people don't talk. They ask questions. And I also notice when I go for dinner with my mentor from the beginning, like, he would always make me feel so special, because he would ask me that, like I would be the one speaking the whole dinner. I never had a chance to eat, because he would ask me a question after question after question, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, he's so interested in me. This is so good. And I talk and I talk and I talk, and then I'll go home thinking, oh my gosh, I can know nothing about this person. And it's fascinating how Melissa is just, I don't feel that nobody ever tell us that. And I'm now so conscious of it that sometimes like I'm actually noticing like successful people are the one that ask the questions, and the one that are not as successful yet, they're the one that need to talk, because the ego need reassurance. They need, to feel good about themselves, right? Yes. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, holy guacamole, ask too many questions, don't worry. I did too, Melissa, you said you did too. Everybody go through that, but then it's a matter of deciding or going, oh, I want to be more interested and interesting moving forward, so you can change that story.
Yes, 100%. When you said that, I'm like, yes, yes, and yes. And it was after a book that I read, which was How to Win Friends and Influence People Too. Was more, that was like, oh, okay, yeah, I've learning a lot here. Yeah. But so to be aware of it, like I just have my little list of questions now, but it doesn't always stick to that, as you're saying. Like it doesn't have to be anything deep. But one of my favorite questions I always ask couples when I see them, like, how did you meet? And it's amazing where it just goes. And this goes on to like this a big story, which was I
love that question. That's one of my favorite questions too, because I'm single, so I'm trying to do the things that people are doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you hear stories, and it's amazing from what you hear. So, what do you think in terms of when we were just chatting about networking, going to networking events? What do you think about that saying when they say your network is your net worth?
Look, it's funny because that's part of my presentation. I share that in all my presentations, and that's because I feel that a lot of people don't take that as seriously. Like when I say you should grow your following and really have people like in your personal profile on Facebook and get them to follow you, get them to like you, trust you, so that they can eventually will either send you someone, or they might become themselves your clients. People don't take that seriously. They're like, oh no, and they forget about the compound effect, the things that you do 5 years ago that nobody was watching, and then eventually that turns into something. Like for example, when we first got into this call before, you were saying about a live that I did about speed dating, right? When I did it at the time, there was only like 5-10 people live. It wasn't like, I wasn't speaking to 200 people. But honestly, I've had at least 200 or more comments of people saying, I saw that video. And I'm like, wait a minute. So at the time, my brain, I even remember it. My brain was like, I don't have it anymore. People don't watch my stuff anymore. I'm not as influencer as I used to be. And that was my brain when I recorded that video. And since then, so many people have watched it. So I just wanted to remind everybody that our network does equal our net worth, because people are the people that are going to buy your business, right? Nobody else is going to buy your business but people. So we need to nurture our relationships so that we can then help them the next level. So for me, it's not about your net worth equal your net worth so that you fakely create a relationship so that you can make money. That's not what we want to do, but we want to be aware that if we just build the relationship and focus on that, then the rest will come. The net worth will come. There's no problem with that. But we've got to focus on the relationship first, which that's where people go wrong. They focus on the net worth, then the money, and they don't build a relationship, and that's how it just doesn't work.
Yes, I love that. There's a few things in there that I just want to pull in and ask a couple of questions. And one being, like you said, that you have to, build the trust, right? People will buy from you when you have the trust, when they know, like, and trust you. What are your recommendations on what people can do on social media to help build trust?
So one of the things that you were saying before is just find the authentic you on social media. And that's also a journey, and it's okay. So a lot of my clients, sometimes they say, I'm still finding what I want to be on social media, and then I'll post. And it's like, no. You want to post now as raw as you are, without filter, whatever comes out, and then you tweak it as you go. And when I say tweak, it means you adjust, and you got to find the edge for you to be able to adjust it. And people are sometimes not willing to get to the edge. They want to stay in the safe zone and just go like, this is who I am. And it's like, you can't find who you truly are until you go, oh, this was too much this way. Oh, this was too much that way. Okay, I'm going to go here, right? And so what they're going to do is just do it. There's literally like no magic pill. There is no right or wrong. It's just like, there is. But the first step is do it and do it consistently. So do Facebook lives, post, do the stories, share your day. And someone told me once, like, Francesca, I don't have a life, what do I share? And I'm like, darling, create a life. You got the control. Yeah. It's not that I live here and like life go like, knock knock, Francesca, life, come on. But I need to get out there and create my life. I need to get out there and create opportunities for me to post something. I'll give you a quick example of when I again broke up with my ex, and I was devastated, and I was going out and about, and all I could see was pregnant women and couples kissing. I'm like, literally, universe, that's all you're going to show me today. And at first I was angry and I was like frustrated. I'm like, come on, stop kissing everybody. And then I thought, wait a minute. This is actually the universe showing me that love is everywhere.
Yes.
And I don't need to be in a relationship to feel the love. I can just look at these old couples sitting there holding hands and just feel the love. I don't need to be in love with someone to feel the love. And so I started to go, what if today I choose to go around looking for love and looking where I can feel and find love everywhere? And it was so beautiful, right? And then I did a post on that. And that post went really, like, everybody really resonated with it. But the thing is, I could have just stopped at the point of being angry, right? And I could have said, life doesn't happen to me. I'm just angry because there's people, right? I choose to stay curious, going, why am I noticing love everywhere? Why am I noticing pregnant women and when all I want is to have a baby, right? And it's like, why is that happening? And I just challenge and wonder and do something else for me to have a different experience. And then I'll share it on social media.
Yes.
Right.
That is beautiful. There's so much in that is so relatable, because the choices that you made there as well, like especially going through a breakup. Like, actually, a girlfriend today was just like, I just recently got engaged and she's going through a bit of trouble in her relationship. She's like, I do have to say, when you got engaged, it kind of like made me feel all like, and I was so grateful how open she was around it. I'm like, babe, I totally get it, right? Like, I'm 33. Like, I remember, like, I'm the oldest one in my whole year to get engaged, like the last one. And I was always older in my year. And I remember everyone was getting engaged and having babies. And then it's like, oh, what's wrong with me? But then it's like, no, I changed that story as what you did to be like, oh my God, I'm so happy for them. How amazing is it that they've got that? And it's the way that we look at it. Like what you're saying, life isn't happening for me, it's happening to me. And it's just, I think that's just a beautiful, and then you shared that on social media because that's where you inspire people. And then people can see it that way because it's totally relatable. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it's all the circumstance didn't change, right? The fact was there was couples everywhere, they were kissing and hugging, and there were pregnant women everywhere, right? I
Yeah.
could have just stopped it there and go like, yeah, the universe doesn't love me because it's just showing me what I don't have, and so now I'm angry, and now I'm gonna have a really bad day because first thing in the morning I just saw couples everywhere. So this is where all of the audience listening to this is like, you don't have to have like I didn't just share with you that I went to this crazy event and I met, this super successful person and now I had a story. I just went to the supermarket to do grocery shopping and I found something relatable that got me to change my mind. And so I take that on my social media. But what happened is that a lot of people are not present in their days, right? So they rush and rush and rush and rush and finish the day and they go, I haven't posted today.
Yeah.
And so what if we slow down, right? Slow down a little bit and just like even now, could take a beautiful selfie and we've got lots of stories on like, what we just met. We've got lots in common and we've been lovely chat, right? It doesn't need to be like a promotional post. It just needs to be a post of like, there's beautiful people everywhere and then you can resonate with any random person that you meet if you're just real. Yeah.
You're giving me goosebumps. How to make an impact. So this is going to lead me into what you were covering before and into this as well, because so let's say now you've gone, you're building the trust by showing up, being authentically you, just living your life, like going, living your life, and whatever happens, sharing that, being vulnerable, being open. Now you've done that on social media, you've posted, you're creating trust. Now, how do you nurture that relationship on social media? So someone's seen that post now, they comment. What do you do to nurture a relationship?
So the thing is, I do like to talk to people. I do like to actually private message people and have a little conversation. I don't have hours of time to do it, and I think none of us do have hours of time to chat with random people on social media. So I like to sometimes send a very quick voice message that saves some little bit of time. But for me, it's also a matter of repetition. Like the more consistent I am on my social media, the more easy and simple call to action I have for my audience, the more they will take their own action. So I don't need to message every single person that follow me and invite them to something. I can just be me. And then eventually it's like, for example, we've got a masterclass in 2 weeks that is already getting packed and so good. So I could easily go and put a post after being so consistent giving and adding value. I could put a post out there saying, hey, my beautiful followers, like I've got something coming up and it's nearly fully booked and I don't want you to miss out. So if you're being on the fence getting a virtual assistant, just come to the masterclass and I'll tell you what task you can delegate. And so I can explain what's going to happen in the masterclass and people are going to be like, oh, okay, I've been watching this woman for a while, maybe I should go. Right. So this is the thing that I feel a lot of people are missing is the actual clear and simple call to action for people to say, yes, I want that.
Call to action. Yes, that's a golden nugget. We can see posts and then there's no call to action. It's like,
And in time they say that call to action also in the genuine post to engage. Right. So in the post that I did before, my call to action could have been, and I don't know if that's what I put at the time, but could have been, where do you see love today? Share with me a story. Where did you find love today? Where did you see love today? So everybody would have replied to that. Actually, curious now. I'm gonna have to find it and see if that's the call to action that I put last time.
Yeah. So the call to action would be is share your story.
Yeah, share where did you see love today?
Beautiful. And that's good. Yeah. And then you start to learn more about them, and that's like nurturing that relationship. Yeah. Yes. Great. This is amazing. So you just mentioned your masterclass. Tell us about that masterclass that you have coming up.
So I do 2 type of masterclasses for the 2 businesses that I have, right? Because obviously I still have the 2 businesses. And so one is the virtual assistant masterclass. So I will show businesses how to double the business with a virtual assistant. Most of my clients that have been working with us now for over 6 months, they are in love with the virtual assistant. The business doubles. So we're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So in that masterclass, I'm going to share exactly what are the tasks that we need to resonate. Because the biggest question that I get is, I don't think I've got that many tasks for a VA to do. And I'm like, oh, okay, surely you do. And the thing is, we also forget, what I'm going to share in that masterclass is we forget what tasks we're not doing because we don't think we have time. that we should be doing to really get the business to the next level. So it's not just about what can you delegate now, but it's like what strategy you can get your VA to implement that you're not even doing because you can't even think about that because you don't have the time to do any of that on the business activities for you to create more work for your VA. So that's going to be a masterclass. It's 90 minutes, nice and fast because we're all busy. And yeah, I'm going to cover all of that. I'm going to cover all the things, my stories with my beautiful VAs, how we did it. And yeah.
Amazing. Online?
Yes.
Great.
Online.
So for our listeners listening, where can they find you?
So I love for you to connect with me on social media. So it's Francesca Moi. I've got the business page called Francesca Moi and my personal. So either friend me or shoot me a message on the business page, and I would love to have a chat with you for sure.
Amazing. And you can't forget that name. How incredible is it? Such a unique, beautiful name. Like even when you just said it, I was like, oh, can you say it again?
Thank you, Melissa. I love your name too.
Melissa Fernandez.
I love it. And Fernandez is it yours?
Yes, yeah. So I'm Anglo-Indian. So the Portuguese invaded India at one stage. So that's where the Fernandez comes from.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah. So I think I have Portuguese in me somewhere. I haven't done one of those DNA tests. I should. But that's Fernandez. But I'm gonna be a Drake soonish.
Oh yeah.
Melissa Drake.
I love it.
But Francesca, back to you. I have one last and final question for you. And that is, do you have anything on your heart right now that is burning that you just want to share to our listeners?
Look, one of the things that I want to share that is something that I've been telling myself the last few months is you are in demand. There is someone somewhere that is so in need of what you have, of your services, of your love, of your support, of your friendship, of anything. So just know that you're not alone. And I know that through COVID, a lot of us have felt alone and it was not easy and it was difficult. And just remember that you're not alone and you're in demand. Whatever you need, there's someone out there that needs the same. And so just open up and go out there and find those people.
Wow. You heard the queen herself speak about authenticity, speak about being true to yourself, trusting, building that trust, building relationships, but at the end of the day, showing up as you, stripping off all of those masks because the world needs you to show your special gift. And when you show that special gift by stripping off those masks, you'll see those things come in demand. You'll see that you're in demand. This is so beautiful and such a beautiful message. And just remember, my loves, that the world needs you to be you. Oh, thank you.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, then you have to come to check out our Facebook group, Workshop Secrets for Coaches. It's a community of over 9,500 coaches that are ready to boom their business by running workshops. They are stuck in one-on-one coaching and they're ready to start to go one-to-many. So if you are one of those coaches, then you have to join us. I look forward to see you there. And hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave me a review to win a ticket to one of my workshops. I look forward to see you there.